Hello, my name is John Witherell. I'm the president of Nevada CURE. CURE stands for Citizens United for the Rehabilitation of Errants. Nevada CURE is a nonprofit corporation. We are an advocacy group for prisoners, and we have tax-exempt status from the IRS. Our interest is educating the public on the problems associated with the prison and parole systems in the state of Nevada. As part of that job, we communicate with prisoners on a daily basis. We receive probably anywhere from 10 to 30 letters per week, and we answer every letter. We gather information about the problems associated with the prison and parole system. We meet with the director of the Department of Corrections, Mr. Greg Cox, every 90 days to bring these problems to his attention and ask for corrective action to be taken. If no corrective action is taken, we refer matters to the United States Department of Justice. We've met with the people from the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., including the Civil Rights Division and the ADA Division. And we keep them abreast of these problems, and if they're not corrected by the Nevada authorities, then we ask for federal intervention. We log all complaints that we receive from prisoners, and these logs of complaints are available on our website, which is nevadacure.org. Nevada CURE is a state chapter of a national and international organization, CURE, Citizens United for the Rehabilitation of Errants. The organization was started by Charlie and Pauline Sullivan in 1972 in Texas. Charlie was a former priest, Pauline was a former nun, and they were protesting conditions in the Texas prison system. As a result of their protest activities and being involved in, the abuses that were going on in the Texas prison system, they started the organization CURE. It was a national organization. Right now we have 44 state chapters, a national chapter, and an international chapter of CURE. There are 17 other countries that are involved in CURE. And we work together as prisoner advocacy groups to change the laws, to make prisons a more acceptable place for people to be, rather than the suffering, the abuses, and the mistreatment that goes on in the prison system today and has been going on for many, many years. We hope to make changes, and we can use your help to make these changes. We need you involved by writing your legislators, calling your legislators, and bringing to their attention the things that you would like changed in the prison and parole systems. Now, if you review our website, you will see the issues that we deal with and our goals as an organization to make life better for prisoners, not necessarily securing their immediate release from jail. Some people have to be punished. What we want is them to live in humane conditions and to be treated fairly. With those goals in mind, we can use your help. Right now, we're involved in the legislative process in Nevada in establishing an independent ombudsman, which will investigate prisoner grievances and hopefully stop the retaliation against prisoners for using the grievance and the litigation process. We are also looking to amend the provisions of Chapter 213.1075 to allow prisoners access to all information that will be considered by the parole board in determining whether or not to release them on parole. We feel it is extremely important that prisoners know what the parole board is considering when they go up for parole. We are also moving to amend the provisions of NRS Chapter 213.131 to allow a prisoner to have access to all documents being considered by the parole board, and be present at any testimony for victims regarding a crime to the parole board. We feel that a prisoner has a right to know what somebody says about him and present his side of the story to the parole board. We are also involved in other legislative activities, including amending procedures and administrative regulations to allow prisoners access to know what's in their files concerning them. We want to amend the provisions of NRS Chapter 209.385 to include testing all prisoners for hepatitis C. The statute currently requires testing of all prisoners for HIV. We think Hep C is just as important as HIV, and we think that these prisoners should be tested and be treated before being returned to our communities. We're also looking for adequate medical and dental care for all prisoners, establishing rehabilitative and reentry programs to bring prisoners back into our society as productive and constructive members of our society. We wish to eliminate the discretionary parole system, which gives a small number of parole authorities, 7, the ability to determine the life of a prisoner. And we think that that discretion is abused on a regular basis, but a prisoner has no recourse because there is no right to parole. So we want to take the parole board out of the decision-making process. When a judge sentences a prisoner to 5 to 15 years in prison, the prisoner should be released after he served 5 years and not at the discretion of a parole board. We would like to eliminate the death penalty as a penalty for crimes. We would also like to set 60 years as the maximum penalty to which any prisoner could be sentenced to prison, or to prison. And the basis for that is the life expectancy of a person today is 78 years old. You have to be 18 years old to go to prison, supposedly, unless you're waived as a juvenile and are proceeded against as an adult. So 18 years from 78 years is 60 years. That should be the maximum penalty that any person is sentenced to prison for. We would like to see the good time system changed. We would like to establish mandatory release supervision for all prisoners rather than at a limited number of times, say 2 years, rather than to the maximum penalty for their crime. We would also like to establish Nevada Cure chapters in all prison facilities. However, the director of the prison system does not want us to have chapters in each prison, so they have established inmate advisory committees, which are prisoners elected by prisoners to bring problems at each institution to the attention of the warden of the facility. We fully support this program, and we hope to see IAC committees become an effective tool with which the prison administration can rectify problems within the prison system. We would also like to establish a victim community relationship program, whereas the victim does not feel animosity towards the person that committed the crime. They have an opportunity to communicate with each other and establish the reason for the crime, why it happened, and why it will not happen again. And the last provision that one of our goals right now is the elimination of all sex offender registration laws and the prohibitions that are imposed upon sex offenders. These provisions for sex offenders today are just the forerunner. What about tomorrow? Are we going to track all drug users? Are we going to track all burglars? Are we going to track all armed robbers? What are we going to do? Are we going to spend our tax dollars to keep track of these people, or are we going to spend these tax dollars to help them re-enter and be productive members of our community? And those are the goals of CURE, Nevada CURE, and we work with other CURE organizations, the national organization and international CURE, to make effective and constructive changes to the prison and parole systems in this country and the other countries also.